Hail, hail, the Celts are here, and what the hell do we care anyway, guys? We've been out there and hammered Dundee by 6 goals to 0 in a game that you felt that from the pre-match press conference, Brendan and the boys definitely had a bit of a score to settle after that draw at Daizen Park a few weeks ago, and by golly did they not disappoint. We had goals from all over the place. We had worldies, we had fantastic team goals, outstanding finishes, some bit of fortune here and there as well. But one of the main topics of conversation we've had on the channel since the January transfer window is the squad actually weaker? Is it maybe like a tiny bit stronger, or is it like kind of just about the same? And for me, watching this performance, it was definitely the best the attack has looked this season, and really from front to back to a man. I'm not sure there's many domestic performances where everyone has performed to such a high level. In the video today, we're going to break down how the game panned out, what worked well for Celtic, as well as player ratings and all that good stuff as well. At any point in the video, if you do laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and get into the comment section in this one and let me know what your main takeaways are from the game, any hot takes you've got on guys that are starting to stand up, maybe an unsung hero, or maybe a little detail that you've picked up on that no one else has been talking about in the aftermath. The comment section on these videos is always on fire, and I can't wait to see what contributions you've got for me after the video's been out. But yeah, let's just get stuck straight into it, because games like this is a big part of the joy of being a Celtic fan. You know, seeing the boys going out playing free-flowing attacking football, scoring great goals, and really taking no prisoners. We come into this match not expecting many hiccups, or not hiccups, but surprises from Brendan Rodgers in terms of the starting 11, but I do think that we got that with Jota starting on the left in this game, and Daizen Maeda moving to his lesser seen position in recent years since Jota's departure, back on the right wing here. And with Kuhn coming off the bench later on in this game, it definitely did feel like we need to crash course Jota to get him up to speed as soon as possible for next week. And Nicolas Kuhn, like, he is match fit, he's fighting fit, and as we've seen in this game in the second half when he came on, you know, it's probably good that we just keep him on ice a little bit, but you do need to, you know, get him on the pitch and keep him moving. There wasn't too many surprises in terms of the style of play or in terms of how Celtic went about business in this one. I would say it was a little bit surprising from Dundee that they weren't really as deep as we normally see defences at Celtic Park. They were actually a little bit higher in this one, trying to be a bit more aggressive in the middle of the pitch and really trying to, you know, not give us all the territory, not give us the entire pitch. And really in the initial kind of ebbings of the game before the penalty happens, I didn't really feel that Dundee had that same kind of bite, had that same kind of spark in attack that we've maybe seen from them in recent games and in recent years as well. They did feel somewhat neutered. It did feel like they were, don't get me wrong, like I've heard people saying in the opening part of the game before the goal went in that Dundee were kind of given as good as they normally do, and they were kind of up there with the better performances that we see from domestic opposition at Celtic Park. But for me, like really after the first 10 minutes, I didn't really have much fear or much jeopardy that we weren't going to turn the screw in this game and we were going to make it, you know, a memorable one, because Simon Murray I don't really think had much of a touch of the ball. And you did hear from Brendan, as we mentioned in the intro, in the press conference, that it did feel like there was a score to be settled here, in particular in the last match, but Austin Trusty getting mugged off by Donnelly for, you know, the equalisers and all that kind of thing up at Dens. And you did feel that defensively there was just an extra bit of bite in the defence. There was less hesitation on the ball. Everything was just a little bit quicker. We actually went to McGregor a lot less, and I think across the whole match, but particularly in the first half, again similar to the game at the weekend and the Aston Villa game before it, where we really see Arne Engels and Hatate really owning the pitch all of a sudden. You know, a huge makeup, a huge part of Celtic's makeup in terms of the tactics, the strategy we've been deploying is of course getting Callum McGregor 1,000 touches on the ball. But in the first half it felt like there was a lot more willingness, and just the team was looking more for the likes of Hatate in tight positions in these kind of middle ground areas, as well as Arne Engels, because both players are now really getting into top gear in terms of how able they are to cross the pitch, how much grass they cover, and the array of passing, the range of passing, as most people kind of refer to it as exemplary. Both of these guys is a kind of dual playmaker situation, going box to box, supporting the attack, getting back and helping out the defence, has really came on another level over the last week or two. And I really do feel that, I did say coming into this game, I suspected that Rodgers might do a Champions League team kind of for this match, rotate for Rafe and then bring the boys back for Bayern. And I did not think Jota would start in that kind of ebb, but Daizen Maeda would be the odd one out in that one because he will be suspended for the first game. But that's what we got from midfield. And, you know, we've been chatting about that there'll be a video out tomorrow, how to beat Bayern Munich, how I would try and beat Bayern Munich, certainly with the squad we've got here. And one of the main problems we've had has been like McGregor being very isolated in midfield and being anchored. Like, he has to be close to the defenders. He has to be available for the ball at all times. He has to move around the pitch and always be there to link up the play and whatnot. But it felt that with Hatate and Engels kind of shouldering more of that responsibility in midfield, in the opening like 20 or 30 minutes in this game, McGregor was driving through the middle of the pitch. He was showing up in areas over here, trying to get shots and crosses away. He was peeling down the right and putting balls into the box. And really, it just felt that he kind of got off the leash a little bit here. I don't know if it's a little bit of that Hatate and Engels are carrying water for him, so now he's just got, you know, more responsibility or more license to come off the leash and attack space as he sees fit and penetrate and go forward. Or if it was a bit of a one-off in this match, it's kind of hard to tell. But there might be a bit of a precursor, a bit of a foreshadowing to a bit of a development in the midfield dynamic later on in this match with some of the substitutions. But I did feel that having Hatate going box to box and really driving, as well as having McGregor just driving through the pitch and showing up in these kind of overload situations here, like in the early stages of the game, even before the penalty, we had them right where we wanted them, really. You know, where we're dancing down the line, where we're playing balls into the channel, and it was a matter of time, really. Now, the penalty that does come, I was actually really glad to see that we got the penalty for, because this is a sort of thing that we never get awarded to, especially in the age of VAR, when this sort of thing should be caught more often. It is, however, quite frustrating that we seem to get these 50-50 calls that don't go against us in tighter situations. They go for us in the matches where it's not really needed too much. So maybe a bit of a token gesture from VAR, from those guys that like to make it a bit harder for us in that regard. You just need to look at the decisions we had against Motherwell if you think I'm being paranoid or whatever. And a common theme all the way through the first half was from the likes of Taylor, Hatate, Engels, whoever it might have been, is trying to play these balls into space, playing these balls into the channel. And if you look at the second goal, how it's created by getting the ball into Idah, playing it right in front of the back four where he's able to then run. Because, you know, I don't know if it's maybe a non-Kyogo thing, right? But I don't think we'd normally have that much space, especially at home, to run in and behind a back three, no less, never mind a back four. And I don't know if they maybe thought there's no Kyogo, so the mega press might not be quite there. And with Adam Idah, we can maybe recover. We can maybe chase him 1v1 if we give him space to run into. And this was a mistake that I think they quite quickly regretted, because Idah doesn't only get into the box. He is closely followed, and he's quite unlucky to not get a better shot away. But what a great poacher's instinct to stay in here. And as the shots start to crash on, eventually it falls to him and he fires it in. And that's the sort of goal that we have been missing from a forward. You know, a guy that can break the defence, break the line, put the pressure on the goalkeeper, but still have that fox in the box awareness to just be in the right place. And we mentioned it with Idah's goal against Aston Villa, the first one, where it's an awkward ankle. He's got to use his big legs, and he's got to use his physical power to, you know, hold off the defender and all the rest of it as well. And again, we're seeing his personal attributes, I think, come through here for the second goal. It was very well taken, and you felt with the second goal, it was just absolutely pressure off, showtime. There was no changes in the second half, or there was no changes at half-time, which is kind of normal for Rodgers, I suppose. And sometimes we see with opposition teams, Dundee have done this, Aberdeen and a few others, that they will normally try and make a couple of subs at half-time to maybe try and exploit a weakness, or to try and just add some fresh legs into whatever their forward action is. But Dundee didn't do any of that. And if anything, when we came out second half, 2-0 up, Bayern Munich on the horizon, Raith Rovers on the horizon, a really strong bench pushing the starting 11 as well. We just picked up where we left off, which was fantastic, because sometimes there can be really good momentum in one half of the game. It doesn't really translate into the second, but we came out the second half like a bat out of hell, and it didn't take long before we seen Jota dancing down the line with the boy Mulligan and Astley on strings, cutting back in, and we seen that OG vintage Jota assist where wingers, he's dancing down the wing, fullbacks are on tender hooks, he's got them on puppet strings, tucks into the inside, and he just chips and lofts it in for Daizen to crash in. And again, this I thought was a very powerful goal, in the sense of, like, Daizen has got his best scoring record in the hoops this year, coming in off the left and actually eating up that sort of service from Kuhn on the right hand side. And I was a bit worried coming into this game that Daizen going back to the right, we seen under Ange, he was way less effective on the right than he was on the left, just generally, like on the right versus on the left under Ange, under Brendan. The right hand side under Ange for Daizen was not his best time. So seeing that this sort of mirror image essentially happening, like this goal could have happened 3 months ago when Nicolas Kuhn cutting in on the right hand side and then floating the ball into the back post here for Daizen to crash into. And the reason I find this really powerful is, like, we've been the victim of people like, oh, let's attack their left back today, or oh, Ralston's playing, let's attack their right back today. And if, like, we all agree probably Daizen is pretty undroppable in this situation, if he is able to feed off, like, if he's no worse off with Jota feeding him from the left or Kuhn feeding him from the right, and we know, and really you can examine all three of these, all the goals in this game. I think Daizen's chip, the last one here, is a great example of what he can offer through the middle, because that is really like a last man, the arrowhead forward, breaking the line, one touch finish the chip over the keeper or whatever. But him being this effective on the right hand side, not just getting some deliveries away and pressing like mad, but actually scoring goals and actually linking up with the opposite winger to get goals in, I think is a big development in Daizen's actual game here. And when that win went in, I thought, wow, like, we are really we are really going to go levels up. Like I mentioned earlier in the intro and in the video, a big topic we've had is, like, is the front line actually weaker now without Kyogo? And I think once we get to 3-0 at this stage, like, I am bought in. Like, I think Jota makes this team better than Kyogo did, quite frankly. You know, I think the synergy, the link-up play between the front three that started, never mind the substitutes that we'll come to in a second, is night and day compared to what we've had with any other combination of a front three this season or last season for that matter. And then the fourth goal that we get, where, like we've mentioned already, Engels sprays that ball in for Daizen to break the line and chip over. You can tell Brendan Rodgers is absolutely beaming with that one in a big way, because Taylor, Hatate and Jota obviously have to deal with some really dangerous possession from Dundee down in this corner here. And between Taylor being sensible, Jota getting the ball back, and then Hatate, who gets pressed by like three guys, and he's able to just roll away from the three of them, find McGregor. And then when McGregor switches it to Engels, it's just game on. And that range of passing Engels has got, like, is absolutely frightening. You know, it's terrifying to opposition defences. He just bends it right in front of that Donnelly, and he does get a touch to the ball. Fair play to the lad, you know, fair play to him. But it's not enough to stop Daizen just picking it. It actually helps Daizen maybe a little bit, if anything, as he picks the ball over and he wheels away in celebration. And what a goal for Daizen Maeda. And again, I think Celtic fans were always buzzing when we see Daizen, you know, scoring beast goals, because he does have a rick in him sometimes, you know, where he'll sky it over. But once we get to 4-0, Brendan firmly sees this as job done, and we rein in the substitutions. Kuhn comes on for Jota, and what we've been talking about, everyone, we get Paul O'Bernardo, the big Irish midfielder we've got at Celtic, comes on for McGregor in the centre defensive midfield position, which was fantastic. But Kuhn didn't stay on the left, he went over to the right, and we got Daizen onto the left again. And the game did kind of break down at this point, but we also had Dundee make a lot of substitutions and really kind of revamp their kind of shape, their kind of plan of attack. And it didn't really buy them much, if anything. It didn't necessarily try and kill the game out either. It didn't really feel like a lot of the space went away. It still felt that we had space to play in, whether it be with Daizen marauding down the left and then Kuhn coming into the mixture here down the right-hand side as well. But as our subs came on, they did just get a little bit more and a little bit more defensive. And as you see for Arne Engels' goal from outside of the box, where Greg Taylor actually gets quite a fortunate assist for it. He takes his shot from the edge of the box. Again, there's a bit of a deflection on it, but there's a deflection on it because there's just so many bodies in front of him. And Arne Engels, it looked like the best goal on of the night, but when you see the kind of deflection on it, it takes a little bit off of it in terms of like the wow factor. I still think Daizen Maeda's goal was the nicest one on the day, but that was probably the only example really in this game of Dundee overly like just camping in and like, no more Celtic, stop hurting us, no more. And Arne Engels just put them to the sword. Once that goal goes in, we then get the debut of Jeff. Johnny Kenny comes on for Idah, and Luke McKibben comes on for Hatate. Now, I did feel that this was actually a wee bit of a change to the norm here, because it did feel that in the last stages of the game, Bernardo was like an advanced centre-back, really being a defensive midfielder, shielding the defence. Didn't get many touches of the ball, kept up with play when required. Engels was still finishing off the same shift that he was up to. But when Kenny and McKibben came on, it did feel that like Kenny is still like wanting to be on the edge and wanting to run through and whatever. But it felt like, especially when they had a corner or they had something, McKibben was actually our most advanced player a lot of times for counter-attacks, which, you know, was nice to see, I suppose. It's a different tactic, something else for them to work on. And I think he got a little bit greedy towards the end where he maybe wanted himself to get a goal right at the end, where he could have squared it on for someone else perhaps. But there was a little bit of a dynamic change in here where it was kind of like Kenny and McKibben both as a kind of front two, but Kenny was kind of disappearing into the into the weeds at times whenever we were back defending, and McKibben was like the lead counter-attacking player, which was just an interesting little kind of footnote onto this. Jeffrey Schlupp, I think on his debut, didn't do anything great. He had one or two moments where you can tell he's not played in a little while, but he looked quite comfortable. He looked to be enjoying the occasion, and let's just see how it goes from here. I would maybe expect him to start against Rafe and then maybe come off at 60, 65, something like that. But I think, again, similar to Jota, there's going to be a real onus on getting him match fit, and seeing him come in at left back with a number 15 shirt, didn't really feel that it was too out of place, and there was a lot of passing between him and Trusty, just some comfort stuff, just getting used to the pitch and whatever as well. Right before the end of the match here, where Alistair Johnston gets his assist for the game, he puts Nicolas Kuhn on the ball, and Nicolas Kuhn does what Nicolas Kuhn does, where he line dances down the side of the pitch, cuts inside, and the keeper has absolutely no chance as he fires it across into the far post there to make it 6-0 and to round it off for the hoops. And Kuhn could have had another one or two in this game, don't get me wrong. Johnny Kenny had a good chance crashing in at the front post here from a Daizen Maeda cross. It could have went somewhere. And overall, really nobody put a foot wrong throughout this game. Everyone was pretty exceptional. And the 6-0 score, it does the team justice, but there was probably one or two more goals they could have got against no-knees Trevor Carson. And when we come to look at the player ratings, it is a sight for sore eyes. Not often do we not only hammer a team, but are so convincing right across the pitch. And the statistics this week absolutely show that everywhere. Huge amount of scores everywhere. More than one player bringing in 100. A bunch of players ranking 90 plus out of 100 is absolutely exceptional. I think we'll start with Alistair Johnston in defence because he's probably got the most complete performance out of everyone here. 10 balls into the box from fullback in this game, 65 accurate passes, 23 of them in the final third, 4 tackles won and effective clearance. And when you stack that on top of the duel success here, 7 duels won, only 2 lost, it's a very convincing performance from the wee man as well, with getting his assist in there, which is maybe a bit fortunate, let's say, as well as the clean sheet bonus as well. Really strong performance from him, and he's been he's always been in the top 3 of who's been the best players on the pitch consistently across the season, so AJ reigning in high there. The second player we had bringing in a perfect 100 point score here was Arne Engels. 2 goals and an assist as well to add on top, which again, he was maybe a wee bit fortunate with the assist. The way statistics get caught sometimes, if the defender that Donnelly boy does touch the ball before Maeda does, sometimes Opta can be a wee bit spawny and not credit the assist on that one. So good to see he got it, because what a ball, and that goal deserves an assist maker on it, to put it like that. 2 shots on target, 1 a dribble, big chance created, 10 balls into the box. That'll be the few corners that were had in this game. It does seem though he didn't really win out his duels more often than you would have thought. Possession losses, a lot of this kind of wide-ranging passing, as well as corners and stuff like that. Maybe the first touch of the ball is a Dundee player, that sort of thing. 8 missed passes adds on to that. Not much of a defensive contribution from him, and I'll stand by it again. Arne is not a defensive midfielder. He's an all-action, the last action hero, an all-action box-to-box midfielder, and we're seeing that more and more every passing week, and he is really coming into his own in a big way. Number 3 this week was Greg Taylor, who brings in a 97.7 score out of 100, and he, again, quietly brilliant in this game. A great domestic performance from Taylor, and it was much more in the kind of offensive setting here, not actually involved in many defensive actions. As you can see here, only two duels contested, he's won both of them, which is lovely. Only 6 missed passes, which for fullbacks, in particular the way Greg Taylor plays, is exceptional. 87 passes in total, a lot of them in the final third. 5 balls into the box from open play, 2 of them ended up being attempted assists. Good chances, shots on target were made from them. And he did get an assist, which it was very jammy for Arne Engels' actual goal itself. So he brings in a 97.7, which is lovely. Next up is Cameron Carter-Vickers on a 93.6, and this is totally based on in-game actions, as it were. There's nothing really happened in the attacking sense from CCV, but 108 accurate passes in this match. He only missed 4 passes in total, so it's 112 passes altogether. Only 18 of them made it into the final third. Quite safe, conservative, one-dimensional passing from Vickers, as we see, but 8 duels won, only 3 lost, 4 interceptions for the big man, just absolutely snuffing out danger everywhere. No tackles contested or anything like that. 1 effective clearance, and just, second gear, it felt like, for the big man in this one. Austin Trusty was a little bit more tested in this game, and he comes in with a 92.2 because he won the penalty in this one, which goes down as a decisive action in this scoring matrix. No attacking presence from Trusty in this one, despite going up for a couple of set pieces, a couple of corners. Won a significant amount of duels he maybe could have done with not losing quite as many. There was some moments early on in the match where you could see they were still trying to get in amongst Trusty. They thought he was maybe a mark, Only 8 balls went into the final third, 27 long passes into the opposition butt, which is very good, and only 9 missed passes in total. 2-1 tackles, blocks and clearances, which is great. And they say it did feel that he was more tested defensively than really any of the other defenders, as it would seem. And look at that defence when you add in Kasper Schmeichel to it. That is just a wall. You know, we are a clean sheet machine at this stage. And it must be said, as a wee quick flip side to Dundee, their players all scored horribly. I do want to highlight Aaron Donnelly here, who was the head games guy with Trusty. He comes out of this game with a 0 out of 100 rating. Error led to goal. I don't know if that's maybe the touch for the Maeda one or something. I'm not too sure what that's exactly been credited for. Minus 25 all around. He absolutely... karma come back round for him. Obviously, a huge points deduction on the goals conceded. But yeah, not a good night for him. So that's just kind of funny to see. But Portales actually got a last man tackle in this one as well as Ryan Astley. So these guys were making, like last ditch tackles all over the place. They were even Scott Tiffany, who was brought on in midfield and up front, is in there making like goal stopping chances. Sometimes these might look like a block, but a tackle is like essentially like if you kind of go in for the ball and end up retaining possession. So it might not always be a tackle subsequently. I can't remember all 3 of these, to be honest with you, but it's just funny to see that they also got 3 last man tackles in this, and it didn't help them any, to be quite honest with you. Daizen Maeda is the man of the match, is the hero on the day. He scored 92.6 out of 100, very active in the final third here. A proper attempted assists. It felt like every action that he was involved in was a highlight real moment in the match, from his goals as well as the other play he just generally had with his teammates. Not much in terms of duels contested, but nice to see he's coming out there with a positive. Only 2 missed passes, which for Daizen is absolutely brilliant. Only possession lost is 7, is fantastic. Also, he's won a wee tackle, which is nice to see, and he'll be absolutely chuffed to bits with his performance. Absolutely all-rounder on this one, cleaning 90 minutes out like an absolute hero. And it felt like when Jota got his assist for Daizen Maeda's goal, he was coming out of this game a bit of a hero as well, because it was vintage Jota, cutting in on the left, dinking that ball into the back post. He got 1 shot on target, he won 2 dribbles, big chance created, of course. 4 balls actually get into the box for shots and stuff to come away. 4 duels won, only 2 lost, an interception, nice amount of passing as well, and a tackle one as well. So again, similar to what we've seen with Nicolas Kuhn, it's not just about the style and the flair, but it's also about that bite, and winning the ball back and being hungry in the press and really putting the fear into the opposition. So Jota with a 76 out of 100 is lovely. Right behind him is Arne Engels, who got his goal in the end. Again, great strikers moment, like we mentioned. 2 shots on target, which probably both come in that same moment. So maybe statistically quite a quiet match for Arne Engels, but I think we can all agree you could feel that kind of difference in presence up front. And it did just feel that the whole front line was just clicking together. Right behind Arne Engels is substitute Nicolas Kuhn, who came off the bench to get his goal, obviously, and a little bit of action. A shot on target, a couple of dribbles won, as well as some other attempted assists and balls into the box. He did have a big chance missed. He could have scored 2 very, very easily. And we have seen Kuhn come off the bench before. And I think last time he got a goal and an assist, or was it maybe something crazy like 2 goals and an assist? But he got man of the match off the bench. I'm sure it was even earlier this season. Nice amount of stats considering the short amount of time he was on the pitch, and overall, a great contributor into the match. But Paulo Bernardo on a 46.8 and a Callum McGregor on a 53.2, when they've not quite had a 50-50 split on the match, but it's not too different, is interesting to see. Bernardo very effective in that position, and McGregor does benefit from more minutes, but also McGregor looked better in this game, like just nipping and attacking and going forward. We can see here 5 duels won, only 2 lost. He's got an interception, nice amount of passing, and even with that being more adventurous, only 1 missed pass itself. 2 dribbles won as well in terms of 1 contest, which is lovely. Sadly, none of the chances that he was kind of involved in registered too favourably in terms of like big chances and that sort of thing. But I think from actually watching the game, like McGregor had a really nice first half, and it was maybe a wee bit unfortunate not to get something to take home with him in that way. But Bernardo kind of showing in the same vein here, like his numbers aren't really that different in a short period of time, and this is maybe like 2 tackles won actually from him, so fair play. Bit more defensive contribution there, but generally speaking it's not too far off the same. And maybe we're seeing a little bit of a development now in that controller position, because so many games before we see that McGregor finishes these games with the same amount of passes as like Vickers and Trusty, and that's now kind of evaporated, hasn't it? I think from the bench, the only other player I would probably... we'll have a wee peek at Kenny, but we've got debutant, Jeffrey Schlupp. He won a dribble, he got a ball into the box. Lost possession 11 times, it would seem, which probably isn't very good in 18 minutes. 9 missed passes in total, 29 accurate passes for him. 6 duels won, only 1 lost. You did see that he had a degree of comfort and confidence. I was halfway between merging those words there. He won a tackle, and like it's his first game, and he's got to get a bit of that ring rust off, and get kind of fighting fit, as we've mentioned before. Johnny Kenny, let's just have a look at what actually happened for the wee man. Got a it's not even registered here, really, as a shot on target or anything, but he did have that kind of half chance, didn't he? Made an interception, a couple of accurate passes, nothing else really to write home about, but you can see he was bursting a gut to get involved. And again, some of these last man tackles, depending on when they actually happened, because as we can see here with the match ticker here, when all the shots come in and stuff, we may be able to see when one of these last man tackles were exactly, but it doesn't seem to have when those happened in the little match ticker here. But even just having a wee glance, we don't normally do this, but having a wee glance at the statistics, 80% possession, 18 shots on their 5, 8 shots on target, resulting in 6 goals, great conversion, pass accuracy through the roof. And, a thoroughly, there's just not a blemish on this performance, really, from anyone. Daizen Maeda is 100% the man of the match in this one, but there was a lot of winners in this team. And, like I say, a great, I don't want to say dress rehearsal, but certainly a great, warm-up match as we come into the next 2 matches. We've got to do the business against Raith Rovers with a team that will probably be quite well rotated. Do we, like we mentioned with the preview, like we've seen in this game unfolding, do we maybe see Bernardo starting in that pivot position to give the McGregor the rest alongside whatever rotations kind of come alongside that as we prepare for next midweek? Bayern Munich, by the way, is a bit of a footnote, are playing on Friday night and it will be televised, no doubt, on Sky or whatever. So if you're able to catch that, I'm sure a lot of Celtic fans will, as you'll see on Friday as well on the channel. We've got a How I Would Beat Bayern Munich video. So if that's out, it'll be on screen now, along with some other stuff that we've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. I hope you've enjoyed this video, guys. Let me know your thoughts and feelings on Celtic 6, Dundee 0. And yeah, hail hail and moan the hoops.